Daniel came back there. Is there really a difference between butter or lesser? Good topic.
Yeah, listen, I saw that Brian Cusco just did a video about this, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Coral Glow and banana, which I think are the same type of thing. So let me tell you the story about lessers and butters to begin with, is that Ralph Davis had lesser ball pythons. Okay, and the reason he called them lesser ball pythons is because he had a daddy platy, which was weirdly enough out of the wild, that was an allelic animal that was two genes right out of the wild.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And so when he bred it, he produced these animals that didn't look quite as good as the dad, so he called them lessers because they were lesser than the dad. And then ultimately when he produced dads, he produced them as daddy platies.
I came back to story time with Brian.
Yeah,
story time with Brian. So I was at the Mid-Atlantic show in Baltimore. We were. When Mark Bell came up to now you got to remember, lessers were like $40,000.
Crazy.
And I was at the table when Mark came up with what looked like lesser ball pythons that he brought in from the wild. He did not bring a daddy platy in. He brought a lesser in, bred it, proved it to be incomplete dominant, looks identical to lessers, walks up to Ralph and says, dude, I think I produce lessers. And Ralph said, you can't call them lessers because they didn't come from my daddy platy. And so Mark called them butterball pythons.
Wow.
Period. That's the story.
That's the actual story.
That's
There's
the
no
actual story.
Opinion about it.
There's no opinion about it. That's what happened. So Mark thought he had the same snake as Ralph. Ralph did not want him to call it the same snake because he said if it wasn't from his line.
Marketing, yeah.
Right. Similar thing happened with the Coral Glow. You had Will Slough had the banana ball python that came in from Strictly Reptiles, and Kevin McCurley had what was called a white smoke. When he bred the white smoke, which was a joint project between VPI, Vita Precocious International, Dave and Tracy Barker, and Kevin at Nerd, they produced Coral Glows, and the Coral Glows and the bananas were supposed to not be the same. This is my thoughts, and I don't know what Brian Cusco's video said. I didn't watch it, unfortunately, but I just haven't had time. But I can tell you this. This is just my opinion between butters and lessers and corals and bananas, is if you put 10 Coral Glows and 10 bananas in a bin, no one's picking those out.
Can I even say, too, like even further, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but is there, you know how there's a sex-linked gene with bananas where if you breed and it's a male producer, it only produces males? Is that the same with Coral Glow?
Same thing.
Then that has to be the same.
So,
that only happened once. Like, what?
Right.
Has anybody bred them?
Of course they
together.
Have. Of course, yeah.
And so it's not like the ones that, bred together is nothing.
No,
like,
if you
like
you
a
could,
bell
you could
albino leopard gecko with a trimper to where
no, you can get super
right.
Coral Glow bananas.
Yeah.
Yes, you can get a super Coral
So basically,
Glow
by doing that,
and it's the same thing with the butter
right.
and the lesser. If you breed a butter and lesser, you
That's
breed
what I'm
blue-eyed
saying.
leucisticus.
I knew they were, but
And that's my
to
point,
say
too,
it.
is that like the butter lesser thing, it's two very like big indicators that like this is the same animal. You know?
Right. So, so anyways, I don't mean to step on anyone's toes, I don't mean people to be like, oh, Brian's an asshole for thinking this. I'm just telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I've heard. I'm telling you what I've been there through.
I was going to say, we literally were there. So.
I was literally at the conversation that determined a butter and a lesser.
Right.
I was at that conversation. So that's what I think.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Can we rail this in?